How's it going, everyone? It is I, Paul Clement, your host of the Last Call Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm here with my co host, Bobby Briscoe, once again, and we are so excited to talk to you about fantasy football and all the fallout from the free agency period, but not today. And kind of
Not today.
yeah,
You're gonna wait for that.
all that excitement is going to be for later this week when we have a chance to actually digest all these movers and shakers that have just shaken up the entire fantasy football landscape. And before we get too far, I want to just say, welcome back, Bobby. I know you just had a big weekend, so I appreciate you hopping on and spending some time.
Yeah, I took a crew of 51 of our high school students on a ski trip for the weekend. Left at 6 a.m. on Friday, got back at 7 p.m. on Sunday. So I'm ready to talk about some football.
Anything but skiing with teenagers. And
Anything but conversation with teenagers at this point. We're good for a change of pace here.
excellent, excellent. And uh, I know the time change doesn't help any of us either. I'm in this weird um, what's it called? Not X Files. It's from X Files, but what's the zone? The not the Sci-Fi Zone. It's like the
The Twilight Zone?
Twilight Zone. Yes, where thank you. I'm in like this Twilight Zone where even though her timeline hasn't changed, mine has. Where I feel like, oh, she's up at 6:30, but it's actually 5:30, and that just it throws a wrench in so many daily
Kids
activities.
don't get time changes. Dogs don't get time changes.
Correct.
Why are we doing this? I think
Uh,
we need to follow BC's lead and just get rid of these
I
things.
know. If I was prime minister, it'd be the first item of business I would look after. That's for sure. Um, but yeah, so to give you guys an idea of what we're looking after today, here on Monday, March 9th, we're recording this the evening of the free agency frenzy, uh, wave one. And like I said, I want to take some time to digest all these moves. So what we're going to focus on today is just maybe some reflection on uh, some of the latest trends and trades that have happened, and then let's get into our next division, the divisional breakdown. We're going to look after the AFC North, a lot of very relevant pieces that have just moved over this past weekend. So I think it's going to be a really good session for that. And with that said, it's last call, everyone. Cheers. Bop. Okay, so everyone, the first thing I want to do, because Bobby was not able to join us last Thursday, I had my friend Eric Inward step in and just we ran through a first round mock. Um, Once again, we'll break down all the free agency news this Thursday when we get a chance to digest it all. But having shared this first round mock with you, Bobby, is there anything that stands out? Do you disagree with any of these picks? Do you disagree with where folks are starting to fall?
Yeah, there are a few things that stand out. I am just laying the picks here alongside my own personal rankings of some of these players, and I think a lot of the stuff at the start, so I see it went Jamar Chase off the board first, Gibbs off the board fairly early, Bijan, Puka, all very defensible picks. I find it to start get a little bit more interesting when we start getting down the draft order here a little bit, and we start to get towards the end. Jeremiah Love going off the board. To you, Paul. What were your thoughts behind that pick? I'm curious.
Yeah, of course. So uh, during my conversation and during the exercise with Eric, we discussed who is really the next running back off the board when you look at those top tier guys like Jameer Gibbs, Bijan Robinson. They are in whatever order, one and two of running backs in fantasy football right now.
Hmm.
And this was a dynasty startup draft. So when I looked at the rest of the board, like what other running back really would have fit here? Like you're looking at Jonathan Taylor's, who's looking for his third, or like he's
Hmm.
already had his rookie contract, had his second contract. Now he's looking for a third. You're looking at the ETNs who managed to land at the Saints. We know this as of this recording. You're looking at Ashton Genty, whose situation's still not really that great. So
Hmm.
I like when you look at it and you look at his pass catching ability. I thought he was worthy of this pick because you're going to have a running back in the first round for 5 years who's going to have pass catching upside. He has the speed. I know we haven't had a chance to really break down the combine too much, but I think his stock has really gone up.
Hmm.
And I mean, when you associate draft capital to a first round running back, they just produce, and they tend to produce in their first 3 years at least. So I was very happy taking him there. My when I do it myself, I look at Amarian Hampton. I would have put like I've done this draft before where I put Amarian Hampton in a spot,
Hmm.
but I feel like Jeremiah Love, just that extra year of youth. The pass catching is outrageous.
Hmm.
It's hard to let him slide into that second round where I was taking him before the combine.
Yeah, I get all the positives that you're saying there. I'm just a little bit hesitant this early on with a running back that has nothing proven yet. And I would probably lean for an Ashton Genty in this spot. I know there's a lot of
Okay.
question marks about his situation, but I think, in terms of upside potential in ability and athleticism, you're looking at pretty comparable there. And just we have a little bit more of a firm idea of what we're looking at with an
Okay.
Ashton Genty or
Okay.
or an Marion Hampton even, as opposed to a Jeremiah Love. But I think these are all. That's not too surprising. I was surprised to see his name in the first round. I think in the second round would be where I'd be looking to get a Jeremiah Love. But
And that was my initial instinct as well. I just think his combine, uh, him showing up to the combine and doing what he did, the hype. I hate to be like a creature of the herd and of instinct, but the hype train for this guy is going to go through the roof. Everybody wants that new, and he is going to be it for this year. Um, so I did what I thought is going to happen. I wouldn't necessarily have taken him here at the 10, what is it, 7 or 8? But yeah, it's a risk. He's going to be. I think the Chiefs taking or paying Kenneth Walker tells you they don't think they're going to get a chance at this guy. This guy's going in the top 5, top
yeah,
6, in my
that's
opinion.
very fair. That's very fair and reasonable. The other pick that stood out to me, and it's one of yours as well. So this is
Send
this
it.
is good. I can ask you, Josh Allen going in the first round. Is that just a you want to get your guy at quarterback, and with I mean this maybe segues nicely into our news item as well. With his new weapon that he has there, you're feeling pretty confident in Josh Allen going forward.
Yeah. So for a dynasty startup, it's not uncommon for quarterbacks to leak into this first round. In our dynasty startup that we did 5 years ago, Bobby, I'm pretty sure I took Josh Allen in this exact spot, and I came
Mm-hmm.
back around and got Tyreek Hill, or vice versa. And 5 years ago, Josh Allen is certainly not Josh Allen 5 years removed from that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think being at this spot at the 110 in a dynasty startup, you could say to yourself, I'm going to have the QB1 for at least the next 3 to 5 years. And if not, you could trade him away. The name value alone is going to have some value there. But you can take your quarterback one, who's going to be a difference maker on your dynasty roster, where you have to pick at the margins when it comes to dynasty, in my opinion. So you take your quarterback one, who you assume will be the quarterback one for the next couple years, and you're not so far away that you can't get a receiver or running back to amplify that in the second
Yeah.
round, is how I
Yeah.
justified it.
I like the justification there. I don't know that I would necessarily look for a quarterback in the first round, but I think Josh Allen is the first quarterback that should be going off of the board in a dynasty startup, wherever that happens to fall. And I think there's a lot, even though it's 5 years after the last one of these that we
Well,
did.
that's exactly
I
right.
think he's still that guy. Um, I think something we're kind of circling around here, and we've talked about this a little bit before on the podcast, is in dynasty, especially the value of just betting on talent, whether it's a rookie draft or a startup draft. Physical ability and physical talent is something that eventually wins out for players. I know myself, I drafted Saquon Barkley in the first round of our dynasty 5 years ago, and had to deal with him being on the Giants, had to deal with him being injured, but 4 years later, it paid off, and it paid off big time, right? So, players that have the physical tools and the physical ability, that will eventually show somewhere,
Yeah.
right?
And the way I broke it down when I was doing this exercise with Eric was like, look at the first four picks. Any of those first four picks are literally picks that could be the first overall. Like
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have any problem with Chase, Gibbs, Bijan, or Puka being the first overall pick. Then you go into kind of like the stable slash new blood kind of like tier of like JSN who just broke out. He's going to get a big payday this week. This not this week. This offseason. Amon Ra's already been paid. High floor, high ceiling kind of player. CeeDee Lamb's been the wide receiver one in the past. Jeremiah Love's going to profile as that like running back three behind Bijan, behind Gibbs. And then you get into like take your pick, right? Like do you want the upside? Do you want the floor? Justin Jefferson goes at the 1-9. Josh Allen goes 110. Omarion Hampton, that's a projection. Like I've said before, Omarion Hampton I've taken earlier in a first round of a startup draft. I like him with Mike McDaniel being the play caller there now. And I'm surprised you didn't mention James Cook because this was an item that Inward had a problem with. Like James Cook led the league in rushing, put up 12 touchdowns on the ground plus another two through the air on a run heavy offense. That's not going to change. And I know he was RB6 in terms of like points put up, but like how can you not feel good about a running back that's in that situation?
Yeah, the situation there is definitely something that's really good. I actually there's another player that's not on this list that I take exception to, and this is maybe because I had him on my last iteration of my dynasty team. But Malik Neighbors is a player that I expected to see in the first round of a startup draft, and I'm surprised that he didn't go off the board here. That's a player who, maybe is flying a little bit under the radar because he missed a lot of last season injured and is going to be injured for the first little bit of this coming season. But the situation in New York's improving. He's got somebody throwing him the ball now, and we know the physical ability that exists there as well. And he's young. He is only 22 years old as of right now. So that's a player that I would be looking at too. So that's the
Yeah,
one surprise mission I'm really noticing.
don't get me wrong. Like Inward and I sat there and we looked at Drake London, we looked at Malik Neighbors, we looked at Jonathan Taylor, we looked at all these players, and we decided on this group. And don't get me, I think Malik Neighbors, barring the injury, is probably up here in the top four with Jamar Chase, Puka, Bijan Gibbs. Like he is that good. I am ready to admit that. The fact that he's apparently the recovery is going slower than expected, I think is going to play into people's minds a little bit
Mhm.
where you could like I wouldn't be surprised if anyone who took Josh Allen, Amari Hampton, or James Cook at the back end of this took Malik Neighbors right away. Like you can
Mhm.
play the long game at that point. Um, and same thing with Drake London. Like Drake London's got quarterback questions now, but um, whatever.
Mhm.
You look at there's other players too. Jonathan Taylor. Like there's just a little shakiness with all these other teams
Mhm.
where I think these guys have the talent plus the stability plus the upside. I think
Yeah,
people are
absolutely.
looking for the upside. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
So,
Do you want to get on to the news item?
yes,
Speaking of
please.
DJ Moore.
Yes, I want to get your thoughts. And once again, we're going to save a lot of the free agency news for later this week, but I wanted to get your take on DJ Moore being traded to the Buffalo Bills really quick, because this feels like a contender adding a weapon of this caliber is worth discussing with more than just one person.
Yeah, for sure. This is I really like this move for a lot of reasons. I mean, for the Bills' perspective, yeah, they are finally going to have someone to be that guy for Josh Allen, and they haven't had that since Stephon Diggs. They haven't had a top wide receiver one in a while of this kind of caliber. So that does a lot for their offense, and yeah, I think they're going to look a heck of a lot better with him in the fold. For fantasy purposes, definitely my stock for DJ Moore has gone up with Josh Allen being the guy who's throwing him the ball. I don't know that this improves my Josh Allen stock just purely because he was the top guy already anyway. But I think the floor has raised and the ceiling has raised for him as well. So from that perspective, it's definitely an improvement. And then really quickly, we talked when we did our last divisional breakdown about the Bears and the weapons that they had. I think all of the value for all of those weapons on the Bears has gone up now too, because they're not competing with DJ Moore for touches, and those young guns that they have there. There's more to be fed for them. So this is a really win-win trade for a lot of reasons. Also, as a Packers fan, he's out of the division, and I don't mind when the Bears leave the division.
Yeah, fuck that guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So so the way okay, the conversation I had with Eric earlier was like, it was a lot to give up. He wasn't cheap. You're on the hook for a lot, and he's a boom and bust player. But does he make the Buffalo Bills a better team this year? Yes.
Yep.
And to your point, like, he's the guy that's going to be able to stretch the field, um, if not consistently, then at least once in a while, and be a good scramble drill kind of player
Mm-hmm.
for a Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Um, to your point, I don't think Josh Allen's standing kind of moves one way or the other. A lot of his production has really come from his rushing and rushing touchdowns. He hasn't had to rely on passing touchdowns to be that QB1, but this has certainly help. Absolutely. Um, I'm happy you brought up the distribution of wealth in Chicago's landscape, because I'm a Colston Loveland owner myself when it comes to my keeper league, and this was like the first domino I needed to fall to feel really good about keeping him. And I
Mm-hmm.
just need Cole Kmet to either take a restructure or get cut for me to be like, Colston Loveland is going to be the tight end of the fucking future. Um, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But this is the first domino to fall for that. And I think you're right. Like, people are going to, like, take your pick in Chicago. Like, there's
Mm-hmm.
Luther Burden lovers, there's Roma Dunze lovers, there's the Colston Loveland lovers, and you almost have to wonder if, like, it's a situation where you just take the quarterback. We've talked about this before, where if all the weapons are so good, but you can't count on the consistency of any of them, take the quarterback who's going to be throwing to them every single week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I do like that perspective as well, and we'll have to see how the rest of the offseason goes.
Yeah.
But
It's a great move for the Bills. I know there's a
yeah,
lot of cost to a player like this, but they are not. They're worried about winning right now. And this is a move that I think helps push them closer to that line, right?
yes.
So the other things you can forget about them, and it makes it real easy to forget about them if you get a ring.
Yeah,
So.
I think the nerds get a little excited about, oh my gosh, they're on the hook for $18 million 3 years down the line, when the salary cap went up $20 million this past
Mhm.
season. So I it's humming and hawing about nothing when you can get a weapon like this for, hopefully, the back half of his career, and does make the Bills better this season. I agree. Okay, everybody. We're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to get into our AFC North breakdown. All right, welcome back, everybody. Let's get into our AFC North breakdown, which is a very topical division, I feel, for all the happenings that have gone down during this free agency period. Um, plus some huge trades that have shaken up the entire division. So we will start with the division winner, who of course is the Pittsburgh Steelers? Question mark.
Question mark.
They finished 10-7 in a very crowded division. Um, I mean, what I did here, Bobby, was I just gave us some general guidelines to talk about the team. You tell me where you want to start because it's a team that is
Yeah.
always not always in flux. They're almost too stable, and I feel like that's going to be the case again this offseason.
Well, it's weird. Okay, so there's two spots that you could start with them, and I'd like to start at the coach actually
Sure.
because we now have Mike McCarthy at the helm of this team, which just is exactly what you're talking about with too stable. This is the most conservative choices that you could make to replace Mike Tomlin probably ever. Like certainly a good coach. Won a Super Bowl. Still happy about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, is he bringing anything new to the table, really, in terms of his approach as a 62-year-old coach who's been around the block for forever? Um, you might get some different looks for players. They might be, some changes in usage of personnel compared to Tomlin. Like there will be for sure. But in terms of, if you're looking to make a change and bring in something to lead your team into their next era, this is not that move.
I agree. It's a very lukewarm hire,
Mm-hmm.
and I think he, just like Mike Tomlin, he's a great coach to get you to 10-7.
Yep.
And the one thing I'll say is that when he's been at the helm of the offense does perform well. Like some of Dak Prescott's best performances, his MVP season that he almost achieved was under Mike McCarthy. I feel like he likes to spread it out, have multiple receivers in the game. You can see that already with them releasing Jonnu Smith. They're
Mm-hmm.
probably looking at moving another one of the tight ends. They traded for Michael Pittman to come in and be that wide receiver too, alongside DK Metcalf. Another
Mm-hmm.
big I feel like Mike McCarthy wants to get back to a strong run game. Like
Yes,
you
he'll definitely be leaning on the run. We saw that a lot in Dallas, but he did that with Green Bay too.
yeah,
The run game will definitely be something they'll be bringing back a little bit more here.
100%. And I guess we'll see what that backfield ends up shaking out to be. If I'm not mistaken, Kenneth Gainwell just signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So
Mm-hmm.
that pass catching option is gone. He wants to throw to the receivers and run the ball with big running backs. So I
Yeah.
feel like Caleb Johnson, his stock might be on the rise when people actually look through all the fog. And then you have, is it Jalen Warren, who's the running back there? His stock probably doesn't move all that much, but he'll be a good starting running back option in the mid rounds of fantasy drafts.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's how that offense shakes out with a Mike McCarthy at the helm.
Yeah. Now, the other big question, and I was debating which one you wanted to lead with,
That's why I
is who's going
asked
to be under
you.
center? Who's going to be under center throwing the ball to those wide receivers or handing it off to those running backs? Um, yeah, because obviously there's some great familiarity between Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers. However, will Aaron Rodgers be there? He's 42 years old. It sounded an awful lot like he was going to retire.
No solid answer.
We don't know. I don't know whether he needs to go do some more ayahuasca in the desert in Arizona or something to figure out and hide in the darkness for a weekend again to decide what his future is, but we don't know yet.
If
And that is a huge, huge question mark is who's going to be under
so,
center there.
regardless of process, do you think an Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy reunited is a good idea? Meh. I mean, the fans of the Steelers are not signing up for meh. Like
Yeah, that's yeah.
Malik
I
Willis,
mean,
as of this recording, Malik Willis is already signed in Miami.
mhm,
So Kyler Murray's still out there, as far as I know. Haven't
Mhm.
checked the feed recently. Um, you're looking at Kirk Cousins, you're looking at Carson Wentz, you're looking at Geno Smith. Like, if not Aaron Rodgers, then one of these guys is going to lead you
Yeah,
to like, uh,
there's a lot of
oh
Matt
man,
options, and at least this is the Matt option that's maybe the coolest
right.
is to have this reunion. It's a nice story.
And
Um, but I don't know. To be quite honest,
mark
I
my
will say,
9-8. They're going to finish 9-8. Like it, this
yeah, I mean,
this
I think
division
Rogers is certainly capable of, yeah, 9-8, 10-7, something like that.
the division
I'm
got better.
impressed.
The division has gotten better. Well, they have gotten the same, as far as I'm
Yeah,
concerned. Like Michael
yeah,
Pittman, very nice addition. He's a nice chain mover, but he's not altering the offense.
no.
Man. And then I mean the third item I put here is in our notes before everything changed with Michael Pittman trade was pass catchers because after DK Metcalf they had not even Calvin Austin, I don't think. They had like Ben Skoranek or something as their wide receiver too. So like they're drafting at the 21 spot. Um, like I like to do and play this exercise with you, Bobby. Like who do you think they should take at 21?
Depends. Maybe a quarterback.
Ooh,
And all honestly, probably a quarterback.
you think the
I honestly think, given their situation here right now, that might be a legitimately good idea for them to think about who the future is there under center. And even if whether Rogers is gone or Rogers is back, try to do something to solidify that.
okay? So
Just a thought. Just a
you're
thought.
you're thinking like the Ty Simpson or like that second quarterback, whoever that might be, is
Yeah.
the idea, eh? Okay,
and
okay.
and depends on how the draft shakes out too, whether or not where quarterbacks are kicking around in this draft. um this could be a trade up or trade down kind of situation, and
Yeah.
you know maybe do something with that pick, but use your pick around this slot to
Yeah.
try and lock something down in that
The
position.
one the one pick I saw that I really liked was if Jordan Tyson falls, then you can add Jordan Tyson to this group, like the as a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And then to your point, you trade back up into the first round or get up there into the top of the second to get your Ty Simpson or Garrett Nussmeyer, whoever that might be, as quarterback too.
I put them as a candidate for a team that is maybe not drafting at 21.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I think they're a good candidate for a team who's doing stuff at the draft.
Okay.
What that is, I don't know, but I think that they're a candidate for a team
They
that.
do have a lot of draft capital to your point, so they can move
Mhm.
around a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's get into the Baltimore Ravens. They finished at 8-9 in a devastating loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers in that final week,
Mhm.
which led to the firing of John Harbaugh. Yep, and just a
One
huge
of the Harbaughs.
one of them, and it's been a bit of a shakeup across the entire coaching staff. Obviously, um, I think the three things I want to touch on here are it's an interesting group of receiving like pass catchers. They have Zay Flowers, who's like your twitchy slot guy, Rashad Bateman, who's your deep threat, and then they decide last year to extend Mark Andrews and let Isaiah Likely walk, which was an uh,
Interesting choice.
interesting choice with all the negative backlash against Mark Andrews. But obviously, the franchise likes him. Um, where do you like? How do you value any of these pass catchers within the first three rounds of a dynasty startup, Bobby?
Oh, within the first 3 rounds of a dynasty startup, I have my rankings here. Give me a
Okay.
half a second. I will say, just generally speaking, um, I think with their offense and if things are running there the way that they want things to be running, um, I know there's question marks, but I think they have enough talent there and they have enough bodies there that are serviceable. They'll get the job done. I think this is more about the guy who's throwing the ball than the guy who's catching the ball
Okay.
for where they'll end up at the end of the day in terms of how they perform in the division. I have Zay Flowers going within the first 3 to 4 rounds of a dynasty startup,
And like I feel like
somewhere
that's
in that range.
I feel like that's reasonable. Like
Mm-hmm.
the guy finishes a I think I don't want to be wrong on this. I'm not going to pull it up because I trust my memory here, but I believe he finishes a top 12 receiver, but barely in a
Mm-hmm.
year where receiving like the wide receiver group as a whole scoring was down.
Mm-hmm.
I think he finished with like 2 touchdowns, and you were not happy having Zay Flowers on your roster as like
Yeah,
he
he
never
was
had the
really
ceiling.
good. He was really good if he was somebody who you were flexing in, and he maybe had some big weeks for you. But you were not happy if you were having to rely on him as a starter in any way, shape, or form in one of those top spots.
So would you feel comfortable drafting him in the fourth round if you know that he's going to be a flex option for you?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
That's the thing. I would say that he probably should go around there, but I don't know that I'm taking him myself. He's
right.
probably one of the players that I'm trying to fade a little bit
Yeah,
and hoping falls to a later round.
yeah.
Um,
Derrick Henry, we should probably bring him up.
yeah, I should probably bring up Derrick Henry. Yeah, he's a
Um,
fairly fairly
all he
notable
did
player.
was win people championships last year.
All he
Uh,
did was not
um, so he'll be. Let me. I'm going to pull this up.
32,
He'll be
32,
32.
32.
And once again, like I traded in our dynasty league before we decided to hit the reset button. I traded a buttload to go get this guy, and he just did not perform for the majority of the season. But then you have to remember when December comes around, that's when he turns into the Sasquatch that he is, and
Yeah,
people
hey
can't
Henry.
tackle him.
Yeah,
And King in the North, I guess you would say.
yeah, yeah.
And
He, it, this is one of those things. I think we talked about this on the last iteration of the podcast. Um, there are some players that fade the age curve, and you expect the wheels to fall off, and they will eventually. That is going to happen at some point, but they don't fall off the cliff at the same time that everybody else does. And he is one of those guys. So I and maybe avoiding him in a dynasty startup because I'm trying to be good for the
multiple
next
years.
5 or so years or even more. But especially if you're in a redraft league and he falls a little bit, I am absolutely making that gamble. I'd rather bet on Derrick Henry being good and winning me a league than not.
The one thing I will say is that the Baltimore Ravens offensive line this past season was a bit of an experiment. They had 2 guards and I think a tackle that like they thought they could get away with going cheap that route. And I know they just lost Tyler Linderbaum, which does not help. But um, I do imagine they will be shuffling that offensive line in some way that will be to the benefit of Derrick Henry. I don't think last season, and once again, when winter comes, it's a whole different story. But I think you can expect a better start to the season for a 32-year-old running back. I'm not trying to predict anything, but I think that this season, if they have a slightly improved offensive line, he'll start stronger, and then if anything, fade towards the back end, just based on age and wear and tear. And
Yeah, it's possible.
I don't have a crystal ball. That's just my guess, but that's how I'll leave that there.
I will say just we don't we may mainly stick to the fantasy, but in terms of who's going to win this division, this is the team I have winning the division.
Sure.
I think with Max Crosby coming in, that just adds so much to their defensive side of the game, and then really I'm just betting on Lamar being Lamar
Getting back to
and
Lamar.
having a
Yeah.
bounce back year. And I think, given where the rest of this division is at, I think they're winning this division.
I think you're right. Like Lamar, I don't know if it's just chance or luck or whatever it is, but it does seem like he has a injured year and then an MVP year, an injured year, MVP. So he was injured for most of last season, so he might win two MVPs this next season, as far as I'm concerned.
He very well could.
So they don't have a first round pick, so we don't have to worry about that this time. Let's get down to the Bengals. They finished at 6-11. There's not a lot of questions because this organization does not make a lot of big moves. Generally
Hmm.
speaking, they try to draft and they do that poorly as well. But
Hmm. Can I
like,
make a bold prediction?
please, yeah.
They're probably going to be fairly decent on offense if Joe Burrow is healthy and their defense is going to stink.
You don't think
Bold,
there's
bold
you,
prediction.
you don't think there's any hope that the defense gets better?
It might get better.
So, okay, you know
I
what?
still think it'll be good.
Let's touch on these two things and then let's talk about them in the draft because they have multiple picks. Um, do you think Chase Brown is going to get extended? Like they've already spent all this money on the offense. Are they going to spend the like what does Chase Brown fetch? 12 to 13 million dollars a year at the running back position?
That's yeah,
Kenneth Walker just got 15.
yeah. So he's got to be in around there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I'm just out of curiosity going to pull up their cap data here just to
Sure.
see where they're at. Um, they do have a bit of space. They have about 47 million worth of space to play with at the
Okay.
moment, which is
Not
an
bad.
amount.
Not bad.
So we talked about how much money they've spent on those receivers and Burrow and etc. But yeah, they could probably pay Chase Brown if that's where they choose to put their money. But should that be where they're choosing to put their money is the better question.
My answer is no
Yeah,
because
I would agree with that.
they drafted Taj, what's his name? Taj, oh god. Taj, not Brooks. Anyway, they drafted a running back last draft in the 6th round. They have Samaje Perine rights, I'm sure. Like, are you going to spend? Are you going to spend on a running back when you have so many holes on defense? Like, you can't justify it. They're
Yeah.
losing. They're losing Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson, money be damned, is not going back to the Bengals, and like
Hmm.
their first round picks that they've spent on that defensive line and elsewhere have not panned out. They have two good corners, and that's it. They need a safety. They need linebackers. They need D line. The
They
defense
need
is.
everything
They
on
need
the back
everything.
end.
You cannot you. I like Chase Brown extension was one of the first stories I saw this offseason, and I was like, no, like I'm sorry, but you are
Mhm.
wrong. This is not going to happen. Like someone else will, if someone wants to pay Chase Brown, they can to be part of a committee. They've spent, almost a. I'm not going to. I don't know the full math, but basically $1 billion on quarterback and two receivers, plus a tight end in Gasicki because
Yeah.
apparently he was important. So
Yeah. Apparently.
I don't I don't see how a Chase Brown gets extended in this environment when um, they have just so many needs. And like you and I, at least I don't know if you've been watching the ticker, but the Bengals have not made any splashes in the first wave of free agency so far.
No, they have
So
not.
I like, I
Yeah,
can't see it.
it must be a frustrating thing to be a Bengals fan. In fact, I know it is because the teacher who's next door to me, as the neighboring classroom, is a Bengals fan, and I experience it on a daily basis. His frustrations. I will say, having had this whole conversation, if Joe Burrow is healthy, I think they can contend for the top spot in this
Okay,
division.
I
I
know.
don't think they're going to win it, but I think that they will be certainly a team that's in some kind of a contest for a playoff spot, and you never know from there. Joe Burrow is him, and he is, if healthy, I think the most talented quarterback in the league, and he has amazing weapons in Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So
And Mike Gesicki.
and Mike Gesicki, don't forget about him. So
He celebrates a 3 yard catch like he scored a touchdown. Like this motherfucker. My God.
yes, yes.
So I appreciate you bringing it up because that was in the doc, right? Like if they go from the 31st defense to the 21st defense through the draft, through free agency, through scheme and familiarity, can they compete? And you say yes. I
This is a team that's been known for losing games, you
for
know,
no reason.
35 to 40 or 40 to 45, right? Like if they can just get marginally better on defense.
One stop.
Yeah.
So I want to agree with you, but I find it hard with Baltimore Ravens making the moves that they've made. And I mean, you sent me the meme of Joe Burrow with like guardian cap, turtle shell, bubble wrap. Like that's
It's going to have to
they
be
have to
facing down Max Crosby and everyone else that's in the division, the
they have to
Steelers pass rush.
they have to figure that out because
Mhm.
the offensive line started shitty, and obviously that led to Joe Burrow, basically almost losing his toe. Um, but towards the end of the season, they were actually I think they were number one in short yardage rushing success rate. So the offensive line is making strides, and I think you can get behind that when it comes to running back position and just the offense staying on the field. So I do
Mhm.
have more faith in the offense. I want to see what they do in the defensive side because winning teams have fantasy success at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Who do
Yeah.
you want them to take at number 10 overall?
A defensive player.
Whoever falls, but
The best available. I really don't care what position, just whatever best defensive player is left on the board, take them.
between Sony Styles, Caleb Downs, Ruben Bain, what's the other defensive end? David Bailey. Like I feel like those guys are going high. The Bengals might be in a bit of a bind, so maybe they go. It'll be interesting. They could go another corner, or they could go
Yeah.
maybe they're the Jeremiah Love landing spot. I'm just keep dropping that every single time I ask because if you're drafting in the top 10, you could get Jeremiah Love.
True.
Let's round it out. Let's get to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
They finish at 5-12, last in the division. QB question. I think if you haven't been watching the NFL, the QB questions are very obvious. And they don't really have an answer. Like, what do you want to do here, Bobby? With the if you were the GM of the Cleveland Browns, what would you be doing for this season at the QB position?
That's a really great question. I'm just trying to pull up my list of their depth chart, and my computer is giving me issues here. So bear with me a second. Um, Honestly, for the Browns, I'm probably giving Shador Sanders a look. I think you brought this guy in. Um, it's not a good situation that they have going on there, but they do have a good defense, and that can help to hold the fort for them and keep things in check and try to grow this guy and try to rely on the physical talent that we've talked about before. Now, whether he has the physical talent to succeed is a bigger question, but certainly they thought that when they brought him in. So
I mean,
I would say give him a shot.
people thought he was a first round pick when that draft came around. So
Yeah.
I don't think people question the processing or the arm talent. I think it's more of the pocket presence. Like
Mhm.
he has a bad habit of bailing and retreating, and he doesn't have the athleticism to escape. So he ends up getting sacked for a -20, which is just it's detrimental to an offense. You know this as a football coach. Like you and I, a sack might as well be a turnover because it just ruins your
Mhm.
drive, which happened a lot last season. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know what other options they have. Like they're
They could be, if you want to do something different, maybe bring in like a Kirk Cousins or something like that.
I don't think they're going to do that, and I'll tell you
But
why.
I,
Because Deshaun Watson is going to show up to the training facility day one and be like, "I'm healthy now. I'd like to compete for the starting job." And I don't know what the hell you do with that. what do you do with that? Like, he's a quarterback who literally was the worst Cleveland Browns quarterback when he was playing, and then he tore his Achilles twice. Like, he's on the books, so you can't get rid of him.
Yeah, you can't get rid of them. You're stuck with them.
Do you march him out there and like eat some snaps, and then when he fails, then you put Shadur out? It's such a fucking mess. I I don't know how I don't know how anybody's a Cleveland Brown fan. It's disgusting.
Yeah, it's a real hard team to be a fan of.
No
Um,
offensive line, no receivers that to really note of.
they got nothing.
They got they got Harold Fannin, and sure, Jerry Judy has some fancy footwork, but he can't catch a ball. Cedric Tillman can't stay healthy. They have two picks in the first round. Let's just round this out and just get to that. Like, if you're the Cleveland Browns, you have the sixth pick and the 24th pick. I'm sure when they made the trade and traded down with the Jaguars last year, they were hoping the Jags wouldn't be a fucking playoff team, but they
Mm.
were. So now you have the
Mhm.
sixth and the 24th pick. Where are you going, Bobby?
This is going to be a lame answer because it's kind of a non-answer, but um, an offensive player, best offensive player available. Um, Not a quarterback. I don't know if I'm taking a quarterback. I
They
don't
don't
think
need
now is
another.
the
They have
time.
like four on staff,
Yeah, they do need a quarterback, but now's not the
but
time to
they
be
don't need this
drafting
one.
another one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would just take whether you're adding a weapon at wide receiver, whether you're adding a weapon at running back. I think you need to be adding weapons on or someone on the line too. Like an offensive player is what you need to be taking in this draft. I think for them.
yeah.
Um, and then same with their pick later on in the first round as well. They just need more talent on the offensive side of the ball, and whatever position you give me, I'll take whatever I can get.
I do like. I've seen this before, where Francis Mauigoa, the right tackle from Miami, goes at number six. I'd love that because he can play guard, he can play tackle. They have like effectively two offensive linemen on staff right now, so get another one through the draft early. Protect your quarterback, whoever that might be,
Whoever that
and then
happens to be, they will need protection, I'm sure.
that's kind of like level one of football. And then
Mhm.
at the 24 pick, I like your point. Defense is solid, more than solid. It's dominant. So let's go. You could go. What's a good weapon at 24? You could go Kenyon Sadiq if he falls that far at tight end. Like go Harold Fannin and Kenyon Sadiq as small tight ends and just run havoc,
Mhm.
wreak havoc across defenses. Or I've seen Omar. Oh my gosh, what's his name? Omar Cooper.
There
There it
we
is.
go.
Omar
Perfect.
Cooper. Omar Cooper apparently dazzled people in the interviews, and then he showed up at the combine, put up good numbers, and then did the drills exquisitely. So to get him with inside outside versatility would be a
Mhm.
nice complement to a receiver group that should be better on paper than it is. Jerry Judy, they signed to a big deal a couple years ago. He's been fine. Like they need the quarterback. Like they need to figure
Yeah,
out how to get the ball in these playmakers' hands because
yeah,
they do have playmakers. They need to
yeah.
shore up that offensive line. They need to figure out who the quarterback is.
Yeah, I agree with that. They yeah, if you don't have a quarterback, and this is something that we've experienced in coaching high school, you don't have a quarterback, it just sinks you, right? If you don't have a quarterback and an offensive line, then you are doubly sunk because yeah, if you can't run the ball or pass the ball, you're screwed.
And you know what? I don't blame the Browns. I think they were hoping there'd be a better crop of quarterbacks in this year's class. There were supposed to be the Lenore Sellers. There were supposed to be the Dante Moores. There were supposed to be the Archie Mannings. This was supposed to be a good quarterback class, and instead it's Fernando Mendoza and maybe Ty Simpson in the first round.
Yeah,
So they are left holding the bag on what would be a should have been a good quarterback class. Now that they wait till next year.
If it's any consolation for them, though, I think they're going to be really bad, and I think that they will have a chance again next year to get one of those quarterbacks.
Right, you are. Okay. Well, thank you, Bobby. I appreciate you hopping on with your battery running low and running through our draft and going through the AFC North. I think you and I do a really good job of like breaking down these teams on the divisional breakdown. So I hope we get through the rest of them over the next month or so
Yep.
before the NFL draft actually comes. And more free agency news to come, of course. We didn't touch on any of it other than through the conversation we had here. So stay tuned, of course. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying any of this, guys. And if you are new to the station, we're going to be coming here twice a week during the off season, and then hopefully at least 3 times during the regular season, just breaking down everything in a very casual and nonchalant fantasy football way. So, once again, thank you, Bobby. Um,
Thanks for having me.
you did a great job, as always.
I appreciate it again, and now I'm gonna go and get some sleep here. I think
Okay,
so.
perfect. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Thank you for checking in, and we'll say peace on that.